to know everything all the time and be up to date when fucking a psycho down south does something crazy 6 times per week. It's like, I didn't hear about that. I only heard about this disastrous thing. And it's just a lot. So I have actually felt this weird little weight come off of my shoulders to realize that Okay. This is episode 23. I was gonna record tomorrow, but then I got really fucking into watching this fucking podcast. Okay, I don't have a story time. I might think of it now, or in the middle of the podcast, or at the end of it, or tomorrow, and I might just add it in the, but at the moment, no story time. So, this is probably going to be long enough. I started listening to / watching Joe Rogan's interview with U.S. in quotations Vice President Shady Vance. Also, okay, before getting into that, soft launch confession incoming before I start. I'm having like a mini epiphany, and it's that I'm very into the equality of humans and the protection and support of disenfranchised communities and minorities, not necessarily all politics, which they're obviously very intertwined, but I just am feeling like I don't always know everything about politics. It's like impossible, because you can try to keep up with the bills that are being passed, or what meeting is coming up, or what shady ass thing was said on TV from someone in great power, or what interactions your government is engaging in with other countries. It's impossible. It's very hard. It's to know everything all the time and be up to date when fucking a psycho down south does something crazy 6 times per week. It's like, I didn't hear about that. I only heard about this disastrous thing. And it's just a lot. So I have actually felt this weird little weight come off my shoulders to realize that I am just really advocating for people to feel good and their rights, and to be equal to everybody else's rights, and have the same healthcare and the same opportunities, and not have to jump through fucking hoops all the time just to get to the level of somebody that was just born that way and can actually just slack because they're born that way. They didn't need to work. Anyway, okay. Rant all done. Thanks for listening. Starting podcast notes that I made when listening to the podcast. So in the beginning, Joe Rogan says, I can't wait to have a take on that, discussing people online being performative in their content, because there's economical opportunity in the likes and the comments and the engagement and the et cetera. So I don't have like a disparaging take on this. I just have an alternative thought that abso-fucking-lutely people can exaggerate their thoughts and opinions for engagement. And there's a shit ton of people who are reacting because they're having a genuine emotional reaction to the, and I quote JD in this podcast, life and death decisions. And they're saying, yeah, literally saying like the radical left and the just commenting on people having a emotional reaction and seeming overly extra about it. It's like, no, some of us actually are overly extra about it, because as you said, you're making life and death decisions, and it's really fucking hard to compartmentalize that, and paying the government to put money towards that, and anything to do with hurting somebody, injuring somebody, like intentionally harming someone because they are not in your culture circle, or a little fucking echo chamber because you're being a dickhead and you don't realize that you can actually learn and grow and thrive amongst other humans and other cultures and other like sectors of your environment. Like, expand it a little, you know? Okay. That was my take on my rant, I guess, on Joe Rogan, saying that these people just take this event that happened and that they... I smoked a joint, okay? Leave me alone. I'm gonna get there. Hold on, give me a hot second. Okay, in regards to Joe Rogan saying that people get really worked up over shit and they post it to be performative. Not necessarily, because I get really fucking worked up over it, and I promise I'm not really performing. Like, I definitely try to get myself into a little pumped up, hyped up mood, but it's almost like a 10 times version of who my actual self is. So like, it's still me, and I'm still having these emotions, and I'm still wanting to make this content because I still care about what I'm talking about, and those can exist in the same realm. Make sense? Cool. Continuing. I'd be very uncomfy living in... Okay. I can edit that part out. Or maybe I won't, just for funsies for you guys, an embarrassment for me. You're welcome. I walk so the podcast can run. I'd be very uncomfortable living in a world where people don't get riled up by that. Like, where there's no, if you will, a genre of people that got worked up over life and death decisions that your own government is making, that you're putting money toward. Like, it would be fucking weird if, like, there was nobody upset about that or concerned about that or fucking freaking out about that, you know? Like, there's a safety in that, because there's a safety in knowing that there's a group of people advocating for people that are not in their own demographic or in their own circle. They just have empathy towards humans as a whole, and that's a very comforting feeling if you let that thrive. But no, people get shit on for it, and they're saying they're all extra and they're all performative. Continuing. Oh, Jesus Christ. I just fucking realized, okay, so the first, 25 minutes of this podcast that I was listening to, I was writing notes, and I was like, we need to skip to the parts that I made notes on my phone of a couple of days ago, initially passively listening to it. And I just realized now that I want to get through it because I feel like there's so much to talk about, and I just kind of want to skip to the parts where I made notes of. I just realized I didn't even fucking make notes of the conversation between Joe Rogan and Shady Vance, where Joe Rogan is asking how it's appropriate to have one specific religion's beliefs and one specific religion's privilege of showing that in a school, or being mandated, or being paid, or having your funds redacted in redacted, a question mark? I don't know. Is that the right word? Probably not. Anyway, having funds taken away from you because you don't agree to put up one specific religion's 10 Commandments. Okay, moving on. So, fuck, I need to find that. I should probably pause this and find that and then talk about it and then continue with the 2 hours later. I'm gonna do that. Hold on. Okay, so I found it. And update, we're going to listen to it together. So, starting clip of Shady Vance talking about the 10 Commandments in schools, and Joe Rogan saying, why?
Freedom of religion. It's actually very much a Christian idea, because you recognize the dignity of each individual, and part of recognizing that dignity is that each person has to find their own pathway to God. You can't force this on anybody. I don't think putting the 10 Commandments up in school is like forcing things on anybody.
But it's public schools. So, I mean, if you're going to do that...
Exactly. It's public schools. It's so many different kinds of people and so many different religions, or people who don't, or spiritual atheists, whatever the fuck. Why are you putting up one specific religion's followings or commandments or whatever I don't know what to call it. I don't know what to call it as okay, moving on.
Not put Buddhist scripture. Why not put, you could Muslim stuff. You could make an argument why you should have a bunch of different religious tenets in schools.
I think in the Supreme Court there actually are a lot of different sort of historical, cultural, legal documents that are up there, and I want to say that Moses coming down with the tablet is one of them, but I think there actually are other cultural and maybe even other religious elements of this, where you recognize that a big part of sort of the law-giving tradition in Western civilization is some of these religious texts, not exclusively Christian.
What are you even saying right now? What are you talking about? I thought that he was saying there are certain religions that are displayed in public areas or something like that, and then he just starts going off on they have exclusively this texts and what are you saying? I feel like you're just using a whole bunch of words to confuse the shit out of people, because I'm fucking confused, and maybe I'm easy to confuse right now because I smoked a joint before I did this. But I still think you're talking fucking nonsense, because also I don't really have much faith in anything you say. So
obviously some Jewish, there's like an important contribution from the Muslim world in this. So I guess I don't think it is exclusionary, while also recognizing that, America is a society. Our founders were people who were very much influenced, even if they weren't Christians. A lot of them, of course, were.
Okay. Just because you think, I accentuate, you think that you were here first. And that the people that founded the land, or whatever the fuck, were mostly Christians. Why does that matter? It actually doesn't have any fucking relevance to discriminating against... I'm sorry, I'm going to say discriminating, because you're only using one specific religion. Like, you're only promoting one specific religion. You're only saying that people should be able to find their way naturally, and I don't necessarily think that this is a deterrent. I think that it's helping for them to find their way naturally, when they're never going to find their way to your fucking religion, because it's not their religion. They don't believe in it. It's not theirs. It can be yours. They can have their own. It's not something that you should be trying to convince people of. And it's not... Even if the 10 Commandments are good recommendations for how to live your life, still, you're still accentuating one specific religion. And there's a lot of fucking good shit and readings and Buddhist and, like, spiritual and whatever the fuck, but you're just supporting one specific one. And you can't really talk your way out of that. Like, you should really just say, yeah, it's a little bit uneven here. Like, we acknowledge Easter and Christmas as this and this and this. And it's like, yes, lovely holidays. Amazing. Like, you get to see, like, your family. And sorry if you don't like seeing your family, but you get to see your family. You get to eat a bunch of food. And you get to, like, hang out with your cool cousin or your cool sister or brother, whatever the fuck. And it's a good time. But you do not need to promote one specific religion. Okay. I think this is actually mentioned in this podcast, but what if the fucking Quran was mandated in schools? People would lose their shit. They'd be like, why are you supporting this? Why are you blah, blah, blah? They'd probably go off on a whole bunch of fucking racist stereotypes and freaking out because, Jesus Christ, they say that the left are snowflakes, but goddamn. Okay, I think I'm done my rant. I'm so sorry, this seems so chaotic.
We're very influenced by Christian culture and articulating American law. So my argument would be, even if you're not a Christian, like, does seeing the 10 Commandments... Let me put it a slightly different way. Does seeing the 10 Commandments force religion on a...
Does seeing the 10 Commandments... Let me say this differently. Does seeing the 10 Commandments... Okay?
non-Christian child? I mean, my argument would be no, and I'd illustrate this by saying, well, there are all of these ways in which you actually could try to force religion on a child, right?
Well, it's not the word.
Okay, you don't need to bullshit your way through every single fucking situation. Like, you don't need to just fucking bypass that you've been an idiot and run with it. Like, you can just say, yes, I might be incorrect, or there might be a different perspective to this. Instead of arguing your dumb ass point, making you look like a fucking idiot. Joe Rogan is making you look like a fucking idiot, and I'm actually living for it. Anyway.
Worst way to force religion on a child, but to have it and not represent any other religion. This is Texas, by the way.
Sure.
So what he's talking about was that there's these Christian nationalists, these guys that are very wealthy, that are trying to fund Christian schools and trying to defund public schools or any other kind of religious school. And what they want to do, and they passed this, to get the 10 Commandments in all public school classes. And he's fundamentally opposed to that as a Christian because he thinks it's going to force people to have this in their class, and it's going to push people away from Christianity.
I mean, I understand the argument. I just don't.
That's a really good point. Like, some people don't take their thought process or their opinion to the next level and the effect of what it could possibly have. They're just like, this is my intention. And because I'm such a self-centered cunt, the only thing that I'm thinking about is my intention, not necessarily how people will receive it, because you're only thinking about yourself. So Joe Rogan saying that some people may receive this and feel actually pushed back by it and actually be deterred by it and be more stubborn about it and not want to come into Christianity because it's being put in front of them and there's no other option being offered out, you know? So that's such a fucking good point. And he's seeing it from an empathetic point of view. Jesus Christ, I can't believe I'm saying this. And JD is saying it from a I'm only thinking about me point of view. Okay.
See it that way. I mean, I guess if I'm a... If
of course you don't see it that way.
But if I'm a non-religious student and I'm sitting in there and I see the Ten Commandments, at the very least, I think I can appreciate it. I mean,
Okay, but what if you're
I talk about this one book. I went through sort of a...
What if you're a Hindu? What if you're a Muslim? And, and you are seeing that represented, but not your faith?
Well,
it's a public school.
First of all, I think that
see, Joe Rogan says it in such a simplified version of what I'm trying to say that I'm just like, fuck, let him talk. Go.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Muslims, I'm not hardly an expert on Islam, but I think all of the Abrahamic faiths recognize the Ten Commandments as like a significant thing. But I think if I was a Hindu looking at the Ten...
Yeah, because there's the Ten Commandments fucking displayed in schools. That's how favored it is. Of course they're going to see it as a, in quotation, significant thing. It's kind of a significant fucking annoyance, to be totally honest with you.
Commandments. I mean, again, it's hard for me to say this, right, from my perspective, but I certainly went through an atheist phase in my youth. And what I would see that as a non-religious person or a different religion, is I would say this is like an important cultural element of the Western civilization, which is the foundation of the classroom that I'm sitting in. And this idea that the law comes and is sort of above any man, even if you don't believe in God yourself, I think that's like an important concept. I mean, if you look at the Ten Commandments, probably 8 of them are something that I would hope that everybody would agree with, even if they're not themselves religious. So I guess here's my view on it. Like, I would not be offended if I sat in a classroom as a Christian, or if my kids sat in a classroom as a Christian and saw, a religious text that wasn't Christian on the wall. I would encourage them to see that. No, I'd encourage them to see that as a learning experience.
What if it was from the Quran?
Back the fuck up.